Hello everyone, I'm Gerald. Welcome to the podcast where I'll share my thoughts on life and leadership. This podcast is for everyone who loves the local church, whether you're leading the way or serving faithfully on a team. And if these conversations encourage or challenge you, hit subscribe, leave a quick review, and share this episode with a friend on your team. Let's keep growing together as we build teams that build God's church. We'll be talking today from our book, It Takes a Team. And my goal, I want to remind you of this, my goal in writing this book is that it would be a team-building handbook that would continue to be a hands-on resource for leaders and teams. You can find out more at kevingerald.com. So let's get into this. We're going to talk today about the spirit of excellence. Now, immediately when I use that phrase, many of your minds might go to the text where Daniel in the Old Testament was described as having a spirit of excellence. And if so, you're exactly right. That's where that phrase originates. You see, excellence is the only appropriate standard for the house of God. And I want to do my best today to convince you of that. And if you've wavered in it, if you've wondered about it, then I might have my work cut out for me. But I just want to convince you, if I can, that mediocrity is not the right standard. Half-heartedness is not the right standard, that excellence is the only appropriate standard for the house of God. All you got to do is study the incredible detail and effort that God told His people to put into building the temple in the Old Testament. It's mind-blowing, actually, when you look at how detailed and how precise He wanted the craftsmen to be, and the builders to be, and the decorators in their decor of the temple. And then He comes along as the service coordinator, and He says, look, I want it to flow like this. I want the singers, and I want everybody responding. And so it just goes to show you, in other words, that God has a desire that His house would be a house where excellence is the standard, where our hearts are into serving Him, honoring Him, loving Him, worshiping Him. The thing that I want to begin with, though, today is that I want to just lay this out here for all of you who are on a church team or a business owner perhaps today, is that great leaders always lead towards excellence. Think about that. People don't need to be led towards mediocrity. They can get there on their own. But leadership is not needed to have people half-hearted and grumbling and, getting settled in their ways. It's just not needed for that. If you want things to be complacent, get stuck in strife, do the same thing that they've always done, then you don't need a leader who leads toward excellence. But if you are pursuing excellence, then, as we all should, then it's a leader that makes the difference, that sets the tone, that sets the standard. Our neighborhood Starbucks, I stopped in this morning, was on the verge of closing down after COVID. And so because it's in my neighborhood, I took note of it, watched it, and even, I stopped going there most of the time because there was a group of workers that were basically activists, and they were pushing their agenda while, doing that. It was like they were totally unaware or didn't care that there were other quality workers who had been on the team there that were leaving, workers that were true to the brand. And so what we experienced firsthand was that it became very slow in business. The customer service dropped. Friendliness, quality deteriorated. They literally had no consistent work hours. They were pals, they were a bunch of buddies, like I said, kind of activist kind of people. And they opened and closed when they wanted to, not exaggerating. Like if you got there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they might be closed already. That happened to me on a couple of occasions. And so they would hang up a sign and say, we'll be back later, or they would hang up a sign. This is Starbucks, which was internationally known for its hospitality and its quality service. I watched all of that happen in this neighborhood store, and then in fall of 2024, Howard Schultz, the owner, named a new president to the company, and Brian Nicole, and so that happened in 2024, and immediately when he named him as the leader, the stock went up, and it had been lagging and going down, but immediately it all went up, immediately on that day, and it spelled a bright new future, basically, for Starbucks. So now I'm watching, and it probably took 5-6 months for our neighborhood store, going back to that, to start noticing changes. And one day I walked in, and there were new faces in the store. And it was bright, like happy, and just buzzing. And people were now dressed in their green and white again. They greeted you. They even started writing nice things on the cups again. But I complimented them, and when I did, there was a lady that was behind the counter who walked over, thanked me. She was so gracious, and she introduced herself as the new manager of the store, who had been brought up from California to be the manager of that store. Back to today, I walk in this morning. Thankfully, I had a mobile order because the store was so busy. It was buzzing. It was happy. And all the good stuff is back. My point again is great leaders always lead towards excellence. They don't just do what a group of people want them to do. They don't just go with the flow. They're not afraid. They're not having to please everybody. They are thinking about the excellent standard with the confidence that people gravitate toward excellence. Jesus himself led with a spirit of excellence. Everything he did it with intentionality. He did it with care. Jesus never cut corners. He didn't operate in confusion. He was clear in his speech. He knew his mission. He was a culture-creating leader. If that catches you by surprise, just check it out. He would say, this is what I want you to wear when you go out today. Don't take an extra garment. Don't take an extra pair of sandals. Like, he was really clear and said, this is how I want you to act when you go to a home and the home receives you. This is how I want you to treat the people that receive you. And he also said, and when a city or homes reject you, here's what I want you to do then. Like, he had all of this clarity around the training of his team. And then he just sent them out with specific instructions. And the big thing was that he taught his disciples to go the extra mile. Go the extra mile. If they tell you to go 1 mile, Jesus said, go 2. So, excellence is about making more effort than is expected or what is required of you. It isn't about perfection. So you got to get this in your mind. What we're talking about is not being perfect. We'll never be perfect. But in the kingdom, excellence means going the extra mile. Just say that with me. Going the extra mile. Say that Say it out loud. Going the extra mile. Say it to the person next to you if you're in a group. Going the extra mile. That's what we're talking about when we talk about excellence. It's making more effort than what is expected or what is required. And great leaders always lead toward excellence. Another example that comes to mind is when Rudy Giuliani became the mayor of New York City years ago. The city was, really slumping and crime was really high, and he had great success at cleaning up the city and lowering the crime. But there was something that he became known for, and that was he asked all the city employees to make a note. They're out on the streets working, anywhere you are, make a note of a broken window. Broken windows all in the neighborhood. Make a note, write down the address, give us a little information, and it became known as the broken windows policy, which literally you think, well, what does that mean? It'll just be broken again. A lot of people would go, don't go to the trouble. But they started fixing and repairing broken windows by the tens, by the hundreds, literally. And what happened to that is that minor offenses were negated and serious crimes went way down, because the approach was that people started to look at their neighborhoods with more dignity. They thought, wow, there's a presence here. Somebody cares about this place. And the city became recognized as one of the safest large cities in the United States. So it's all about leading the way, and great leaders always lead the way toward excellence. I want to read 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11. It says, finally, brothers, goodbye. This is the NIV version. Apostle Paul is signing off to the church at Corinth. And then the next line, he says, aim for perfection. Aim for perfection. Listen to my appeal. Be of one mind, live in peace, and the God of love and peace will be with you. So say this with me. Excellence is the only appropriate standard for the house of God. Maybe today you're in a situation where you haven't been around much excellence church-wise, and you might be a pastor, you might be have grown up in a church, and you never heard conversation like this. I think it's entirely possible that some of you have not. Here's what I want to recommend that you do is go to a church where you have heard about excellence or you've seen it on social media. Go experience it. Visit it on a Sunday. Attend a conference. Get around a place where they are known for going the extra mile. The pastor, the team, they go the extra mile. And here's why. Because excellence is inspired by experiencing excellence. Excellence is inspired by experiencing excellence. You get in an atmosphere of excellence, you get inspired by it. So sometimes you got to get out of where you're at and go looking for it. The Queen of Sheba, when she came into Solomon's kingdom, like she was just blown away by the excellence. And she was like, man, I've never seen anything like this. You do things at a high standard. Sheila and I, when we first came to the Northwest, we went almost every Sunday evening to the nicest waterfront restaurant. And we couldn't afford to eat a meal there, but we would go there and share a dessert just to be in the atmosphere, out on the water. And so in the summer days especially, we would go there. We were welcomed with big smiles by the team. Chairs were pulled out when we sat down, beautiful white tablecloths. Servers wore crisp white shirts, and their clothes were ironed, and the silverware was polished. The food was so well presented, it was picture perfect. So we would go there, and I tell this story to people how our church was so small. We had taken over a bankruptcy in the corporation of our church, and We didn't have much, but we were inspired when we got in an atmosphere like that. And I would think, I just want a church where people go the extra mile. I want a church and a team who will come along with me, and it won't be just operating at good enough standard. That's good enough, or that's the way we've always done it. But that there would be an appetite for excellence in God's house. See, excellence in you will impact the world around you. So if we get excellence in our hearts and in our spirit, it will affect the people around you. It'll affect the team around you. It'll affect your leaders. Everybody will be going up higher. We just encourage one another when we go the extra mile. It's like this. I explain it like this. If you put a messy person in a clean, well-organized house, the house will soon be messy. It will soon be messy. But if you put a clean, well-organized person in a messy house, what happens? What happens? Like immediately, they're picking things up. They're running the vacuum. They're sweeping the floor. Like they're tidying it up. They're organizing everything. The house that was messy will soon be clean and well-organized. Why? Because what's in you, that's what we're talking about, an excellent spirit. When an excellent spirit gets in us, it impacts the world around us. It impacts the offices where we work. It impacts a desk that we work at. It impacts the lobbies of the church, the parking lots of the church. Like everything is impacted when excellence gets in our spirit, because what's in you impacts the world around you. And in the same way that negative people attract negativity, positive people attract positivity. And a bad spirit is like a virus. It spreads. It causes selfishness, sarcasm, indifference, jealousy. You've seen this happen. Pride, grumbling, it all happens when that spirit is, it's a bad spirit. But thank God the same thing can happen when we have an excellent spirit. Like when we are smiling, we're greeting one another, we're high-fiving each other, we're speaking words of encouragement over each other. We're just saying, come on, team, let's go. Like, let's make this happen. We can do this. We can get there. And people get excited because excellence in us affects the world around us. Doesn't matter, who gets the credit. When we think that way, it doesn't matter who gets the credit. It doesn't matter that we've never done this way before. We're just not going to be petty anymore. We're going to be open to feedback, improvement, sacrifice. We're just happy to serve. So just remember, excellence in us, excellent spirit will impact the world and the people around us. And excellence is not a place where you arrive. We're not saying, okay, here's the bullseye. You're going to get there in 7 days. No, you're not going to get there in 7 years. It's not a place you arrive. It's a path you stay on. And yesterday's excellence is today's mediocrity. So the moment you settle, entropy kicks in. Does that make sense? Entropy kicks in. And so I just encourage you today to keep going. Keep putting the effort in. Keep going the extra mile. Attention levels are shorter than they've ever been in history. So we got to work harder in our children's classes to keep their attention, to affect them and impact them. Same in the youth and the adults. Like attention spans are shorter. And not only that, like it feels like with all the technology that we had 5 years ago, it's so outdated now. Why? Because it's moving at a pace that is so rapid. I hope I'm helping you. I believe I am. Just to challenge you today that this is not about chasing trends. It's about stewarding our influence. It's about resisting the urge to settle where you are. It's about pressing forward as a team where each member is continuing to grow in your leadership. So hopefully today is a day where some of you will look at each other and you'll just say, we can do better. Like we can be better. In fact, I'd like you to do that right now. I'm going to sign off here. We're going to close, but I want you to look at somebody around you if you're with a group and tell them we can do better. Tell them we can do better. If you're by yourself, just say, I can do better. My team can do better. Let me say one more thing. Some of you are like, well, does it really make a difference on the bottom line? So I need to say this to you. In our churches, excellence is evangelism. So I've said all of this, but I'm like you. I want to know that it shows up in reaching people and changing lives. And in Titus 2, the scripture says, in every way, make the teaching about God our Savior attractive. It says it in that framework. He instructs them and he says, do that so that in every way we make the teaching about God our Savior attractive. And let that sink in. Our excellence or lack of it reflects the attractiveness of the message that we preach. Let that sink in. Excellence is evangelism. That means our extra effort matters. Our attention to detail matters. Our preparation matters. Our generous gestures matter because excellence is evangelism. So let's be people of excellence. Let's have teams that have a standard of excellence, and let's build a culture of excellence for the glory of God, because excellence is the only appropriate standard for God's house. God bless you guys. Have a great week.